Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. What is a Snap Judgment review if you've never listened before? Well, I think a lot of reviewers nowadays get caught up in 100%ing a game or getting to the very end. They kind of forget what it was like to play it right in the beginning. With that in mind, I give 5 to 10 hours with the game, and then I just try to tell you whether you're going to have fun right off the bat or not. That factor, coupled with the fact that I think video games is the most subjective form of art, I think that I will not be giving you a scored review. Instead, I will be telling you what the game is in its overview. Then I'll tell you the pros and the cons of the game in my point of view from what I experienced. Then I'll tell you whether I personally will be sticking with the game outside the purposes of this video or content after it is done. So let's get into it. What am I reviewing today? I'm reviewing Slime Rancher 2, still in early access for the last year. I think it came out last year, maybe late 2 years ago. The reason I am suddenly reviewing this is not a game that necessarily interested me, and unfortunately my reviews kind of bow to either requests from fans or the stuff that I want to play. This just wasn't something that struck my eye. That being said, my 8-year-old was looking for a new game, found it, and kind of dragged me into it. So I decided, hey, let's take a look at a review for this bad boy. So, Slime Rancher 2, what is it? Well, I never played Slime Rancher 1. I'm assuming it's the exact same character. You do not get any custom character creation or anything like that. Instead, you play this Beatrice Lubeau person who heads to a new island to kind of figure out the mysteries of a signal there. And basically, once it's the loosest plot to get you to this island, and the island is covered in these little cute little slime things. You have a little vacuum gun that you suck up slimes with. You then create corrals and different sorts of protective areas to stuff the slimes in, and then you feed them whatever food that the specific slime wants. And then it poops out plorts. And then the plorts are worth money as well as crafting supplies. And you have to balance whether you're using that money to purchase new things, new items, new corrals for your slimes, new gardens, stuff to make your life easier, or whether you're purchasing specific upgrades or equipment upgrades. There's a heavy influence on the exploration here. As you run around and find these nooks and crannies, you'll find little blueprints for new types of gadgets you can create, and that will aid you on your kind of journey through this island. In addition, searching around will allow you to find new and slightly more rare slimes to kind of suck up and put in your place. What's interesting about this, too, is all the slimes kind of have different quirks, so to speak, such as there is a slime called the Phosphorus. They only come out at night, and if the sunlight hits them in any way, shape, or form, they poof. And when they poof, they can poof inside a cage unless you have a solar shield, which I did not realize right off the bat. There is, of course, an antagonist, at least so far from what I've played, and that is the tar. The tar is basically any slime that eats another slime's plort that is not the same slime as it becomes a tar. And the tars kind of like they latch onto other slimes, make them into tars, they attack you, they deal damage, and they're basically just kind of like, they kind of almost work like a virus. What's interesting in this, and I have recently gotten a water shooter, which is like an upgrade, but at the beginning you don't have anything like that. It creates this interesting combat dynamic where you have to like suck the tars to your gun. You can't actually suck them into your inventory, and you have to run and toss them into a body of water to destroy them. The entire time, though, they're biting you. So you have to kind of try and time it where you're sucking them in and tossing them in a direction, and sucking them in and tossing them in a direction so that they don't bite you to death. It's interesting. I actually thought it was kind of a creative way to do combat in a cozy game, while making it kind of dynamic to a point. I'd be remiss if I didn't compare this to a lot of survival crafting games nowadays. I know probably the Slime Rancher 2 people will be like, survival crafting, what are you talking about? And this does not have any sort of food or drink counter. You do not have to worry about your character's health. However, there is a dynamic weather system, which from what I understand of the website was recently added. That makes things very interesting. But a dynamic weather system, so the weather changes on the island that you have to deal with. In addition to, it is a lot about base building, like earning the money or the crafting supplies to slowly make yourself better to kind of get farther in the game. It definitely gave me a grounded feel without the try-hard aspect of it, and I really enjoyed that. It was... Any experience I've had with this game so far has been very cozy. Just kind of run around, grab some slimes, man, watch out for them tars, and yeah, it is interesting to say the least. It's worth stating that there are other areas that you can unlock by kind of pooling your money and spending money to drop barriers. I have not gotten through any of them. I'm still in the kind of base area, kind of running around and exploring, just pulling up slimes and kind of ranching them to the point. But yeah, so I don't know what those would bring to the table. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into it in the pros and the cons, but I did kind of really enjoy my time here, especially with my kid. This is probably going to be a short one because there's not a whole lot more to say about this. Like I said, as you do stuff, you'll also have a comm center where like NPCs from off island will call you. They'll give you blueprints and they'll give you little nuggets about the very casual storyline taking place to your main character. So let's go ahead and get into it. Pros. I always go positive first. Kid friendly. I'm going to tell you right now, you go into the kid friendly zone of Game Pass, there are a lot of games in there that aren't actually that kid friendly. They they like to say they are, but I know what they really are, and a lot of them are like either too hard for a kid to really understand right off the bat and play, or possibly have too many darker themes that you don't want your 8-year-old to deal with. Stella loves playing video games, but at the same time, she does not pick up games well, and so it takes her a little bit to get into it. And I don't necessarily want her dealing with like really heavy themes like death and whatnot. This game is 100% kid friendly. The closest thing you have to violence, other than tar attacks, are the meat-eating slimes will eat chickens, but with the chickens, there's not violence or blood. They just kind of ploop over them, and then the chicken's gone, and there's a plort there. So it's not something you're really going to have to get into like discussions with them about. Other than that, it is almost completely violent-free while still being interesting and fun. I was impressed at how well Stell took to this, and the controls are very intuitive and good. And it just allowed her to just play right off the bat. She just runs around the islands, vacuuming up slimes and putting them in corrals and then trying to manage them. And she has a ton of fun doing it. And that was really exciting. One of the things that I have truly enjoyed, and again, I may be a little bit biased because of the connection that I have with my kid on this game, but we would get on Discord and just talk about what we're doing in our own games at the same time while playing for like hours, and that was really fun and exciting. So I do very much enjoy that part of this game. The other thing I'd like to kind of really shout out is the economy of the game. I love that this game has just very simple, straightforward. You feed slimes, you get plorts, that's the economy of the game, but then they kind of build a house onto it, because you have to decide whether those plorts are used on resources or upgrades. You have to decide whether you're just selling those plorts. Plus, the more plorts you sell, the economy actually tanks. So like if you're at the beginning, you're going to be getting like 33 coins for tabby ones. And then as you sell more and more, it'll go down. Now, as you stop selling those to the people, it'll go back up. So it almost encourages you to have a rotation of slimes at any one point in time. I thought that was really interesting, kind of cool and innovative in the space. I love the fact that it's all about just feeding slimes and getting them plorts, but there's just so many ways to do it and so many things to do with the plorts once you get them that it kept me very interested, even though I was never in any real danger of dying. Never had any real problem with the game. It's not a try-hard game. It's very cozy, but it was interesting. It's interesting to just kind of run around and try and make your base better. Plus, The other pro I'd like to shout out is they have decorations in this. So you kind of occupy this place called the conservatory. It has your house and then kind of your farm around it, where you can build corrals and gardens and stuff like that. But what's interesting is you can actually like learn different recipes to build little items so you can kind of customize your conservatory even more further than you do normally, which is kind of cool. You can really make it your own, and it adds that base building aspect to it that I really like. But on that note, we have to jump into the cons. My biggest con here, without a doubt, is the multiplayer. There is no multiplayer to speak of in this, and it just feels like a missed opportunity. Like, this game screams multiplayer game to me. It just screams it. Like, from running around with somebody in a field collecting slimes, to building up your base, to showing your base off to other people, you really can't do any of that. I would enjoy much more if I could get into Stella's game and actually help her do stuff, and vice versa. But there's just no way to do that in Slime Rancher 2. And honestly, if there's anything really holding me back on this game, it's that. Because you end up with this feeling of solitude in the game when the game itself says everything to the contrary. It's just there kind of saying, look at all this cool stuff, look at all these cool things, it's bright and it's happy, but then you're just alone with your slimes. I would love for this to get some sort of multiplayer, even if it's peer-to-peer or something very simple. I mean, it wouldn't have to be anything powerful, because if you got booted, you could just jump back in. This isn't a try-hard game. But running around and experiencing it with somebody, I think, is imperative to this experience. And it's probably my biggest con on this game, that there should be some sort of multiplayer here. And there just isn't. My next one, and this is always nitpicky, I always call this out, and you got to take it with a grain of salt on this one, because like I said, I always call it out regardless of the game. I hate reading in a video game. It just takes me out of the video game. It stops my forward motion. It makes it feel more like work. And this is all text-based. There is no voice acting whatsoever in the game, and that's a real bummer. I mean, there's noises and whatnot from the characters, like Foley stuff, but no red voice lines, nothing. It is all text-based and read. And, you know, with smaller games like this, often they don't have money. Voice acting costs a lot of money comparatively to just making a game. And often it can be a giant chunk of the game stuff. Maybe they just didn't have the money, and I understand that. So if that's the thing that would hang you up, I don't think it should hang you up. I've just got to call it out because it's something that always bugs me when I run into it. So I just hate reading when I'm playing video games. And then my final one, I have to say this one on behalf of my daughter, because my daughter loves something in video games. She would be happy with a video game if it just did this, and that is character creation. She loves to create characters, make characters look different. Just a character creator in a video game is like, you know, chocolate to her. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that there is no character creator in here, and I don't quite understand why. You play this character named Beatrice LeBeau. I never played the first one, so I don't know how much story there was in the first one, but there really isn't any story here that couldn't be told to just random X character, especially since there's no voice acting where you have to say their names in any way, shape, or form. Again, I could be missing something in the translation. There might have been, like, the first one, you really needed it to be Beatrice, and then it carried over into the second one, and I would get that. But from my experience of just playing this one, from not playing the first one, there's just no reason to not have a character creator here. I know it is first person, so you'd never really see your character, and without multiplayer, you'd never be able to see, no one else would be able to see your character. But that said, like, let people create their own character. Who cares, you know? And it would be really exciting for Stella if she could create her own character. So, finally, whether or not I'm going to stick with it, I am going to stick with this when I'm playing with Stella. It is a joy to just be on Discord with her and listen to her kind of run into things and deal with stuff while I'm dealing with stuff. It is a really fun experience, and so I will be sticking with this. I want to see what those other stuff out there. I want to see what those other slimes are. I want to collect those other upgrades and just see where this game goes. Plus, this game is still receiving updates. It's still in early access, and they have been doing regular updates to it, so I'm really interested to see where they go. I want to say right now, I don't know what the game was like before the dynamic weather. After experiencing the dynamic weather in this game, I love it. You get these lightning storms sometimes, and they actually like shell out a material, so you have to kind of risk getting too close to the lightning and getting electrocuted to try and get the material. I think that's really cool. I've already seen rainstorms, thunderstorms, and lightning storms, and there is at least, from what I can see, because there's question marks, at least 10 more different types of weather that could experience. So I'm really interested to see what they add, especially if they are working on some sort of multiplayer or some of the things that I've talked about. It's an interesting game, and I love playing it with my daughter. So if you guys have an 8-year-old out there who might enjoy something like that, give them a try with Slime Rancher. Did I get it wrong, though? Did I get it right? You can tell me in the comments below, or you can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on X at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. And as long as you guys keep watching and listening, I'll keep making them. See you guys next time.